G'day guys, it's Monday the 29th of September. This is just a weekly recap of what's due for the week ahead for our Facebook subscribers. So we've got this frontal system moving across the Great Australian Bight. This front will be followed by another front over the next few days. We have the next high energy period from the 1st to the 3rd of October, which is this period here. So we'll see those showers and storms building across southeast and South Australia, parts of Victoria, and then possibly some storms on coastal parts of New South Wales, southeast Queensland towards the Wide Bay. And this will be followed by a secondary frontal system. It's due to approach the coast by about the 3rd, so it's running about a day late, but this will bring some severe weather to southwest and Western Australia. However, the issue will be the dry northwesterlies that it pulls in across South Australia into the southeast in the days ahead of that, leading the front. So limited rainfall. The focus area of rain will be far southeast South Australia and parts of southwestern Victoria and western Tasmania. We're in the lower deciles here, the 20th, below average rainfall, put it that way. Not expecting a great deal. The heaviest falls will be for the southwest. So slightly above average rain for the southwest, below average rain for the southeast is likely. High energy from the 1st to 3rd. So we'll see this frontal system's increase in intensity from that period. And then the tail end of that period is when we see the next front move into Western Australia. Water vapour shows there's, minimal moisture coming in from the northwest, despite the negative IOD. And, marginal moisture moving across the southern parts of Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria. There will be some storms, patchy storms building for South Australia the next few days, but they'll be highly coastal and they're not likely to push across the ranges, especially into the Murraylands and definitely not the Riverlands. The focus again will be the far southeast and western, southwestern Victoria and then again western Tasmania. So I'll have a look at the rainfall models and we'll go from there. So this is the ECMWF. Looking at this frontal system crossing the Bight today, the 29th. From tonight, we'll see some patchy showers moving along the far southern coastal areas of southeast and South Australia, with that rain increasing in the far southeast. We move into the high energy period from the start of October, so we'll see these fronts begin to enhance in activity over the next day or two ahead. And that sees that rainfall focus increase for that far southern parts of South Australia and western Victoria. Falls are generally 5 to 30 mils, but they might not be as widespread as shown here, but this just shows the potential. Note the rainfall breaks down quite quickly moving into Victoria, and any other focused rain will be for western and northern Tasmania. These fronts will bring gusty winds, nothing out of the ordinary for this time of year. There might be some really light snow for the high alpine regions of Victoria and southern New South Wales, but other than that, very limited rainfall. Cumulative falls might see up to 50 mils for western Tasmania. However, over the last few days, rainfall has been a lot less than has been forecast. So just take that into consideration, that while this shows somewhat reliable rainfall, it may be less than indicated. This is supportive of our drying trend in spring that's been occurring despite the models. So all the models have been forecasting this abundant rain for September through to November. So far, it hasn't eventuated. And for that reason, the models are still over-simulating rainfall and versus what's actually occurring, which is much less. So just be mindful of that. From the 3rd, so the end of that period is the 3rd of October, we'll see the east begin to move offshore. So we'll see a clearing in the southeast, but that opens the gate for this western system, which can build across southwest and Western Australia. Again, this rain band won't be as vigorous as shown. However, there'll be severe weather from around Perth south. So the focused rain will be from the Midwest south with some patchy storms through the southern Gascoyne. But a lot of that will break down through the interior. There'll be some hail coming in from the northwest across possibly into Esperance, into the southern goldfields and the southern coastal districts. But the focus of severe weather is this southwest corner, southwest land division. We've got falls 5 to 50 mils. I still don't think that's going to be quite as widespread as shown there. And again, it'll skirt the coast in, that fashion. And that front falls away to the Southern Ocean quite quickly as well. And ahead of that, we'll get that hot, dry northwesterly. So that's what's represented by this image here. We'll get the rain across this southwest corner. And then ahead of it's the dry, hot northwest flow, which will promote fire dangers through the interior. So temperatures will be climbing up into the low 40s, high 30s for parts of the southeast interior of Western Australia, increasing across into South Australia into the days ahead, into early next week. And those fire dangers will continue into northern New South Wales as that northwesterly flow is promoted across the east of Australia. Accumulated precip for the week ahead isn't overly extensive. This rain in the south east of South Australia and Western Victoria is a moderate confidence. However, it might be still overstimulated. Rain up into the northeast of Victoria is likely to be overstimulated. Rain for Western Tasmania is likely to be overstimulated. Rain for southwest and Western Australia will be close to what's shown here, that 5 to 50, but it'll be quite patchy, it'll be thunderstorm based. And rain through the Gascoyne to the wheat belt and parts of the goldfields will probably be less than shown as well. So just take that in mind. The models are still going off bullish data, so the rain that's occurring will be likely to be less. These storms building through the Northern Territory and the northern parts of the Kimberley. This is a pre-seed to this next major cycle, which is due from week 2. We'll see storms building up through here, and then eventually from around mid-month, we'll see a frontal system come through South Australia and pull those storms into eastern parts of Australia through, western Queensland, northern New South Wales, and possibly into northern Victoria. But again, we're not looking at overly bullish rainfall. We're still only probably marginally above average for this time of year if these storms do get going. But going off the way the rainfall has been trending, we're starting to lean back a bit on rainfall totals while there'll be storms, so they probably won't be as wet as indicated, not until November. So just take that into mind too. Looking at the ECMWF extended model, so this is 14 days. This is just to show this progression into mid-month. There's little interest in storms building through the interior at this stage, so we're still probably a week out before the models will start to really see some sort of agreement on what can happen for this major cycle. But just know there is very limited interest in anything outside of these southern-based frontal systems moving through into the first week of October. And they have very limited moisture within them as well, which is a concern moving forward. So just be wary of bullish rainfall models you might see shared online. And then if we go to the climate models, this is the CFS. We can look at the weekly trends. So this first week of, moving into the first week of October, we're expecting that little bit of above average potential for far southeast of South Australia and western parts of southern Victoria, and possibly parts of this west coast where this bit of a frontal system moves onshore. But models are still interested in around this mid-month mark for these broad storm systems. So this is probably, I'm expecting it from the 11th to the 17th, so there might be some variation on the dates, but this has been consistently trending, this rainfall signal around mid-October. This is your key rainfall window to take advantage of. Other than that, there's nothing really expected for October outside of this. And that's reflected by week 4, where we go back into this dry heating phase prior to the November rainfall window, early November. So the last part of October, again, will be quite dry and very hot for large parts of the country with high fire dangers. If we go to the monthlies, something that's happening too is you'll notice these October rainfall anomalies have really broken down. So we're only a few days out from October now. Today's the 29th of September. And those national rainfall anomalies are few and far between. So this is a very key piece of information for farmers, particularly in the southeast interior, that these abundant rainfall signals are unlikely to occur. This is something I've been saying for several months, actually since January 2025, that would see a drying trend in the spring, despite what the models would suggest. The rainfall signals for November, I would expect these to be slightly above average, particularly through Western Queensland and the Northern Territory when we get these northwest flows coming in with these 2 key storm periods. There's one early November, and one in the last week of November. Then into December, the focus will be storms along the east coast, traditional storms, nothing outstanding, and a tropical system possibly for the Pilbara to bring some rain into the southwest of Western Australia. January, the focus again will be across the general top end into northeast Queensland, and there's possibility for a low pressure system to track down towards 80 Mile Beach, more of a rain depression than a tropical cyclone. February will be focused from the Gulf across Queensland down towards the Wide Bay, with the tropical system moving offshore from the Queensland coast, North Queensland coast, crossing around the Wide Bay. Check that out in the long range forecast for specifics on that. Otherwise, nationally, little interest outside of that key weather period. March, there's a system that can cross again along the Kimberley coast there, more of a low pressure system again. And there'll be a northwest cloud band from the Gulf down towards, eastern central Queensland, possibly northeast New South Wales. Otherwise, not much to talk about nationally for March. April, generally drying trend. However, the focus will be quite opposite to this image. We'll see a tropical low forming around the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf and a high-end category, possibly category 5 cyclone crossing the coast around that De Grey, Port Hedland to 80 Mile Beach around the 20th of April. And again, that's in the latest forecast we released the other day. But generally past that, you'll note that there's no real standouts for rainfall. We should see a favourable season ahead for Western Australia moving into the winter months of next year and a return to more average conditions for South Australia with those dry anomalies building right across the east due to that El Nino. So just be aware of that. If you get rain for our southeastern folks, so southern Queensland, New South Wales interior and parts of Victoria, possibly Tasmania, any rain through to November, make the most of it because it might be few and far between until the coming winter or the coming southern growing season from April onwards. Other than that, there's no real standouts in major weather events outside the tropics moving forward. So that about wraps it up for the week with a bit of a long-range perspective. Again, the major cycle we're looking at is around this mid-October, 11th to 17th, where we get the cut-off flow moving in through western New South Wales, pulling a bit of a northwest flow from the Arafura, Timor Sea and Gulf to enhance some storms through, parts of the Queensland interior, New South Wales interior and possibly into Victoria. But otherwise, we're not looking at overly abundant rainfall. And the models keep breaking down in their projections. So just take that on board, plan for drier outcomes as opposed to wetter outcomes moving into the end of the year outside of 2 November rainfall windows. Anyway, that about wraps it up. Cheers.